What kind of neighbor are you? The text in Luke tells us that, of course, Jesus was always challenged by Pharisees and Sadducees and lawyers, these religious men and also men who were very secular minded. And of course, they asked him the question about the greatest commandment. Now, Jesus usually answers a question with a question. People tell you, you can't answer a question with a question, but Jesus does that. He did that. And so he asked him about, what is the great commandment? And the lawyer, of course, proceeded to state the two greatest commandments. Upon those two commandments hang all the other commands that God has given. And if you look at the commandment carefully, I think the first three, I stand corrected, is for God, thou shalt not have any graven image, thou shalt not bow down to them, thou shalt have no God before me. The middle one, that is the Sabbath, that's for you. That's really for you. That commandment is for you. Rest is important. I'm not talking about Sabbath in terms of a 7 days of the week Sabbath. But the Bible principle is that 6 days you should labor and the 7th day you should rest. So it's a principle that God has placed in the Word. God himself never rested in the sense that it is said that, 7 days, 6 days God created the world and 7 days he rested. It didn't mean that he ceased from working. It's just that after he created all that, they gave the foundation as far as the creation of the world is concerned, he took a break, but God is still at work in the world. So it's a principle, and if you don't rest, we often say you will be put to rest. You will be laid to rest. But the other commandments, if you look at them carefully, it has to do with our relationship with each other. Our relationship with our fellow men. Our relationship among our brethren. Thou shalt not kill, and covetousness and steal and all that. That belongs our relationship. So our relationship with God, your relationship with your own self, how you treat yourself, and also your relationship with your neighbor. But the lawyer, of course, Jesus said, okay, you answered right. But of course, he's really trying to make Jesus look foolish, trying to outsmart Jesus. And he said, well, then who is my neighbor? And Jesus proceeded to tell this story about the good. Well, the focus became the Good Samaritan. But he began to tell us about this man who had a bad experience leaving Jerusalem. Although Jerusalem is, high, it's mountain. You have to go up, I think, to Jerusalem. So he said, this man was leaving Jerusalem and going, he passed through Jericho. And so Jesus used this to teach, or to answer the question, who is, or what it means to be a neighbor, and who is one's neighbor, and what it means to be a good neighbor. Of course, there are many theologians who have looked at this from what they call as an allegory that teaches about Jesus Christ. And one has gone so far to say the Good Samaritan, the man, who was beaten was Adam, and the devil was the bandit, and devil and his angel, they were the bandits. The donkey was salvation, and the Good Samaritan was the Jesus, and the inn is the church. Well, that sounds good. That sounds good. That sounds good. And I at the end, I will surely show you Jesus is right there. But the main focus of Jesus telling the story was to really teach on what it means to be a neighbor and who is a good neighbor. To be a good neighbor is great. It really helps the community. If everybody are neighborly to each other. I think there was a man who sang the song, Bring Back Them Old Time Days, Nappy Maz. Bring back them old time ways. He says, long ago people really were good neighbors. People, when you have a good neighbor, they will look at your house. You don't need to hire no security guard. They will watch over your children. They will protect your property as though it is theirs. And there's a jingle on television. I know we have all of cable, and American has a jingle. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And the point is simply that you could count on a good neighbor. Of course, we all have different concepts of what being a good neighbor is. And Spetland also highlights some of them. So let me say, a good neighbor is always there for you. You could leave your children there. You could tell them, look after this for me, and they will do that. Sometimes, of course, being a good neighbor to some people is just, they don't want you to be nosy in their business. Don't be asking them all kind of questions. Some people like to ask too much questions. But, Tobago, that has been my experience. I don't know why people like to burn bush. They're burning all kind of stuff and smoking on people. A good neighbor doesn't do that. As a matter of fact, you are supposed to inform your neighbor that you're doing that. And you're supposed to put this stuff, my mind run on my sister there, Sister Morris, they nearly killed my poor sister. And if you talk about it, they're vexed. As a matter of fact, I've never seen it a rubbish truck. I don't know why people put. Especially if you live in these residential areas. You're not living in the bush. You're not living in the country. Or maybe we're in the suburb. Or we in the city and we still feel we live in somewhere in the country. Burning bush. You're supposed to and you have to make sure you put in a place where the breeze is not blowing your neighbor. If you live in an apartment house, you live upstairs, don't be making all kind of noise in the night, dragging thing. Be a good neighbor. That's some of the things. So, but Jesus teaches us that in this story, that there are, I will say, 3 types of neighbor. The first type of neighbor is what is called the covetous neighbor. Those are the bandits. The Bible tells us that this man, and I will say a few things here, maybe I could say it in passing. We human beings, we have a tendency, we have a attraction to, a fatal attraction. Jericho was a place. I don't want to use any place in Trinidad or Tobago, but it was a rough place. Zacchaeus, I think, came from down there. It was a place of crooks and criminals, thieves, bandits. Have a difference, Not a thief and a bandit. A thief is a person who will take your mango and run. A bandit will take it and don't run and shoot you and kill you. The pipers are thieves, a few of them. But the thing is that they robbed this man, they wounded him, they stripped him, and they left him for dead. So he left him half dead. The reason why people do these things is because of covetousness. Covetousness is wanting what somebody else has. Not wanting to be like them, but wanting what they have. And you will do anything to get it. You will steal to get it. You will do all we have to get it. People will malign your name to get it. They will try to outsmart you out of it. Yeah, these are covetous people. And the world, of course, is filled with all kind of covetous people. That's because neighbor, as Christ defined it, neighbor is, your neighbor is not only the person who lives near you. Your neighbor is everybody, really. Especially those who are in need. But you have the covetous neighbor. So they strip the man, they beat the man, they wanted what he had. The Bible talk about Jezebel and her husband, Ahab, and how Naboth had a field, and Ahab wanted that field, but Naboth said, no, but just was handed down by my grandparents, my grandfather, I can't give it that. Jezebel made a plan and they killed the man to get it. And there are people like that, covetousness. So Christ told the man, beware of covetousness. So let me say to you, to all of us, don't envy nobody. You know, when people jealous of you, they can't talk nice of you. They can't speak good of you. They can't even speak with you because they're jealous. Covetous. So I know not you, but I hope you are looking because the neighbor had a big TV and a big fridge and a big car, and you're saying what they're playing now, but they're playing nothing, they just have it. Some people like that, they see you driving a new car, they say, you playing big shot. The man ain't playing no big shot, the man just buy a car. The problem is with you. He playing big thing, he get education, now he playing big thing. Well, some people can handle it, but sometimes they you know, it's you. Because you're covetous. So you have the covetous neighbor. And because they want it, and this is the problem with banditry and what you're hearing today. People want what other people have. They see you walking with your gold chain, they want it. They want your Nike shoes, they want your car, they want your money that you work hard for, and they will kill you together because of covetousness. They want what you have. And they're not willing to get to be like you or as you know, like you and work hard for it, but they just want to get it. Like, give me that. That belongs to me. The covetous neighbor. And then you have what I call the person, the neighbor who could care less, who is a person who is uninvolved, non-involvement, and they are so self-centeredly selfish, and they really absorb only with themselves. They're too busy. Because the priest and the Levite came down the road. The priest came first. And he's supposed to be an exemplar of what it means to be a good neighbor. And he looked at the man. And when he saw him, he didn't look. He saw him. There's a difference between looking and seeing it. He saw him because something you're walking, you will just see something. But looking is an intentional thing. So he saw the man as he was coming along the road. And you know what? He said, in his mind, listen, right now I'm busy, yes? And the man full of blood, I'm so religious, I don't want to defile myself. In fact, somebody will take care of you, man. Maybe I'll say a prayer on my way down. The Levite now, who served in the temple, came down. He was a little better. He He looked at the man. And he passed on the other side. He went over on the other side. He's a kind of concerned fella. He felt bad for the man. And that was all. But then you had the third neighbor, which is the Samaritan. And he had compassion on the man. Now, according to the scholars, this man, who was beaten badly, wounded, most likely was a Jewish man. Now, the Jews' concept of a neighbor is anybody who belongs to the Jewish race and religion. That's your neighbor. That is the operating principle in their mind. Everybody as Gentiles, non-Jews, you are not my neighbor. But it's interesting that even though this man was a Jew on the road, they still passed him by. Then you had the Samaritan, of course, who, when he saw the man, he had compassion on him and he attended to the man's need. Now, what does this story really teaches us, really? What does it teach us? Of course, it teaches us about it asks the question, what kind of neighbor we are. But it teaches us, one, what or who is really a neighbor. And everybody that we meet, everybody who is in need, they are our neighbors. And it doesn't matter if they put themselves in harm's way, if they were responsible for messing up their lives, we ought to attend to them. We ought to help them. It also teaches us what it really means to be a neighbor. And this really is symbolized or represented well in the Samaritan. But I want to say, before I speak to that, I want to say to us that like the Samaritan, like the Levite and the priest, there will always be people who God will allow you to cross their path, or will cross your path, or who God will set in your path so that you can be a good neighbor too. This world, my friend, is filled with wounded people. Our community in Tobago is filled with wounded people. The bandits, they wound the man, or they beat him up and they strip him. They took off his clothing, they leave him naked, left him naked, and also half dead. They thought he died. And this world is full of bandits. Of course, Satan is a bandit. Cocaine is a bandit. You see, I met a young man sometime this week at Penny Savers in Scarborough, and you're all smelly. You're smelling piss. We use that word in Trinidad, piss. And I saw a man who is disabled, first of all, in the corner, so I gave him $10. And while I'm going to that guy, I'm looking at him, I know probably piping, and I gave him a 5. I said, listen, sir. I said, you know how great you are, sir? I said, you were born for greatness. I said, there's a great man inside of you. I supposed to go back and say, you'll be here all the time. I said, but carry some clothing, something. I said, I'm going to bring some clothes for you. But there's a man. There's a young man. I mean, if there's not a divine intervention or somebody does intervene, that man will die. Young man will die. And what really has been the use of his life? I don't know. There are many people who were bright and brilliant, working in jobs, and cocaine stripped them of their dignity. It robbed them of their sanity and left them for dead. There are people who have wounded people by careless words, wounded their children by words, and still today these people are fighting. They still can't catch themselves because their parents told them all kind of degrading and disaffirming words that there will be nothing and nobody. They still can't get over. They have been wounded, according to David Seaman, people with wounded emotions. A lot of fractured people walking all over the place. Some have been wounded by families, outsmarted by people, robbed by people, robbed of their houses, robbed of their money. So many bandits, so many persons like this. This man was in a crisis state. He was left there for half dead, and the people who supposed to help him, they passed him by. The priests and the Levites. They passed him by. And I want to use Martin Luther King Jr. word here because they asked themselves the question, if I help this man, what's going to happen to me? Luther, in speaking to some of a civil rights leader and preacher, preaching, he used this text and to talk to some workers to stand up and join their brothers to protest and to strike. And he says, don't think about yourself. Because this is the problem. Listen, there are a lot of people, and I'm kind of going ahead of myself here, I don't know why. But the thing is, I went to them, I will say it again. I can't find the papers this morning. I found probably, I don't want to say the devil, but probably why I put it, I just can't find it. There's an article on Tobago News front page, I think I bought it Thursday or somewhere there about, where there is this young girl with a cleft lip and cleft palate. She born that way. They say they don't know why children are born that way. You know what that is, right? You see people with split lip and everything, you said it happened in the womb. The tissues are not connected. So when you have a child that's born normal, praise God. You better praise God because you're born everything intact with you. And I asked myself the question. Because I see them talk about compassion. Listen, all around us, there are hundreds and thousands of people who are in need of experiencing compassion. The drug addict needs compassion. The thing about this man, I want to say, the thing about this man, he should have had the sense not to go down to Jericho alone. Because Jericho is known as the bloody path. The terrain is ideal for bandits. All kind of rocks and caves. So the bandits, it gave them a good place to hide out. So it was known in the days of Jesus as a bloody path. Because that was what happens down there. It's like you taking yourself and go down Lavan. Let me not use that word, but go someplace in Trinidad that you know is notorious at night and you're bringing gold chain, you're looking to get robbed. So he placed himself, he didn't go with a crew. You have to walk with your crew. When you're going to some places, young ladies, walk with your crew. Men to walk with your crew. Because this was a dangerous place. A lot of bandits out there. Not only, listen, and this man was left, he was beaten by them, left for half dead. I mean, he placed himself in harm's way. But the people who passed by, the second type of neighbor, who were the careless, they couldn't care less about people. Some people, they're uninvolved. They don't care. They could hear your husband beating you out. They didn't care nothing. They could see people right there that they know starving, and they would say, he looked for that, she looked for that. That's good for them. But this man, the Samaritan, he asked himself, according to Luther, he looked at the man and he asked himself the question, if I don't help this man, what's going to happen to him? And that is the critical question, is the question you ask yourself, if I don't, what you see, if I don't help this man, what's going to happen to him? And he says, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? He said, you know what? I am going to be that solution to this man's problem. The Bible says that when he saw the man, unlike the priest and the Levite, he had compassion on him. Compassion in the Greek means, is a word, women experience it. It brings up pain. It gives you at a distressing sight, it gives you pain. Women say that my belly cut, it hurt me when they hear certain things about people, like they're feeling it for the other person. They identify with the thoughts and feelings of others. And so, when he saw the man, and observe, the man, he teaches us what real compassion is. Real compassion is blinded to your race. The man was a Jew and he was a Samaritan. You know the culture of that day, Jews and Samaritans were enemies. They don't talk to each other. The Jews think they're better than the Samaritan. And so this man, he was a Samaritan. And this man, when he saw the man, he was moved with compassion, and compassion always moves you into action. It wasn't just a sentimental feeling, just an emotional feeling, but it's a feeling that it moves him to action. So he said, if I don't help this man, what will happen to him? And compassion, and I said, compassion is blinded to whether a person, your race, your color, or your prejudice. This man was a Jew, and Jews weren't like Samaritans. And to help this man, you know all of that, they don't like you. They hate your guts. They think of you less than them. And you still going to help them? You think they're going to help that man? So he didn't care about that. Compassion looks beyond that. It is not done even as a payback. What is the motivation? What motivates someone to have compassion? It is not done because somebody did some good thing for you, so let me pay them back. It is not to improve his Jewish relationship. Some people do things because if they do it, they will look good in the eyes of people and to gain mileage. A lot of politicians do that. They don't care about you. They just want to gain more political mileage. Or it was not to gain favor among the Jews. He looked beyond the man's faults, of all his prejudices and his racism. He looked beyond that. He looked beyond the fact that this man, he placed himself in harm's way. Why you're stupid or why he didn't know better. He looked beyond that. He wasn't concerned about that. But he saw a man in need.